I think that that's genuinely the missing piece for so many new sellers is they started expecting very quick results and they started expecting to be really good at it right away, which we'd all love, right? Like if that was reality, wouldn't we all love that so much? But it really is like embracing that messy middle and just accepting that like you're not going to be good at the beginning.
If you've been trying to find your path on Etsy with print on demand, today's episode is for you. I am so excited to be chatting with my real life print on demand friend, Kate Robb. You may have seen her on TikTok or Instagram. Kate is an incredible print on demand seller who talks all about diversifying your income online without burning out. She is an incredible human first and foremost, and today she's going to be sharing all about her strategy using bulk orders to increase her Etsy sales. Now, Kate and I have found success on Etsy with two very different paths, but that's what makes this so fun. So we're going to be talking today all about how our paths may look a little bit different, but what are those common characteristics between our success? We're also going to be diving into her bulk order strategy and also how she is able to spot trends. So buckle up, sit tight, grab some popcorn, and we are going to be diving into this episode with the one and only Kate Robb. All right, Kate. Well, I am so excited to have you here. Obviously, we are print on demand friends outside of social media and all of that. So I'm so thrilled to have you here. And I'm really excited to be able to share with everyone watching about how there's really a lot of different ways to go about print on demand and see success. But thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Emily. I'm so excited to talk.
Yeah, so excited to chat in this kind of more official capacity. So this will be
Right.
this will be a lot of fun. But for people who don't know you yet, I would love to kind of go back, rewind to the beginning of your print on demand journey, and would just love to know how you heard about POD, what kind of drew you to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my print on demand journey, I would say, started officially in the summer of 2022, but it actually started probably a year before that. At the time, I was working in the nonprofit space, and I had a mentor who I went out to get coffee with one day, and we were kind of talking about how do you make ends meet when you work in nonprofit. And she said that she had a t-shirt shop on Etsy, and I was like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Like, where do you find the time to screen print? How did you learn how to do this? And she was like, oh, I don't print anything myself. It's print on demand. Like, I should know what print on demand was.
Right, obviously.
So we started talking more about it. And I was like, oh, wow, you only like design these shirts. And then you have a production partner who actually like makes them for you. I wonder if this is something that I might be able to do. And so I eventually left the nonprofit space, started working a remote job in tech recruiting. And I had so much extra free time that I had never had before. And that idea of print on demand kind of was in my head for a while. And that summer, I just decided to take a leap and start. And I haven't looked back since.
That is amazing. You know, it's interesting. I also came from education and all of that
Right.
too, which we talk about. And it's so interesting. I see a lot of people who come from education really find some success in this space. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that a lot of us have kind of shared that similar journey.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are so many similarities between when you have those like base skills of designing lesson plans, decorating your classroom, all those things. It's so applicable to print on demand, which I think is really cool that that option exists to monetize your creativity that you're already putting forward in your 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. So
Yeah.
when was kind of that first aha moment when you realized this could actually work? Because I feel like a lot of us have that moment, that light bulb where it's like, oh my goodness, this is real. This can actually happen. So
Yeah.
when was that for you? Was it like your first sale? Was it your 100th sale? Was it a different moment? When do you feel like that was?
I honestly, so I always say my first sale was my mom. She like, I like sent my shop link to her and she bought a sweatshirt, which I'm still like, Mom, you really, I know you love me, but like you really paid money for that. Because our first designs we all know are not our best. But I
Right.
think for me, it was that fall was kind of just a whirlwind. Like I think I started my shop in early summer, like maybe June or July of 2022. And so by the time kind of that Q4 spike started heating up, I was like, oh, wow, like this is working. And I kind of got in, I guess, in a space where I was like so in love with the process of creating new products that by my first quarter four, I had like three print on demand stores open, I want to say.
Oh my goodness.
And I was just like, I think it was that first quarter four where I was managing multiple shops and I was like, wow, like this is actually possible. And it really just altered my perspective on the possibilities that there are to make money online. It gave me that confidence to see a world that I always knew was out there, but I couldn't actually feel it or experience it myself.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think those moments of hope at the beginning are so important
Yeah,
because it can feel really slow. It can feel like a lot of time invested and a lot
absolutely.
of failure. One thing that I love that you do on social media, and it's inspiring me to maybe do the same, is sharing some of those first listing designs because
Yes.
I think a lot of, I know when I first got started, I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to design, but I just kept trying. And now I'm so glad I obviously did that. But I love when you share those early designs to show like the progress from then and how you kind of have to like go through that to get where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think about like the first anything you do is probably going to be bad. Like I can remember even when I started lifting like 4 or 5 years ago, like I look back at like some videos or whatever I have from the gym and I'm like, oh my gosh, your form is terrible. Like you have no idea what you're doing. Um, and now it's like it's kind of second nature. Same with like the first race you ever run. Probably
Yeah.
not going to run your best time. Like it's the exact same thing with starting a print on demand side hustle. The exact same process.
And I don't know what it is, but it's like it gets harder as you become an adult, I think. I have
Yes.
two young kids and they're learning new skills all the time and they're totally willing to be bad at it before they
Yes.
get started. But I feel like as an adult, you don't like that. You don't like to go out of your comfort zone. So I think that's an important thing to just embrace at the beginning of that. And I want to talk about the beginning. So keeping it real, like I said, it can feel super, super slow at first. It can feel like you're putting in a lot of hours. So what kind of things kept you going in those early days when you weren't getting sales yet?
Yeah. I think for me it was the fun creative outlet that print on demand provided. Like I felt like I had something at the end of the day where I could sit down and put creative energy into something that had the possibility to eventually be monetized. Like even if it wasn't monetized right away, I knew that that was out there and I was enjoying like actually just creating the designs. I feel like that is a part that so many people miss. I wrote a newsletter a few weeks ago talking about how like it's and I make a lot of comparisons to running because I'm a
Yeah.
runner as well. But it's like if you are just focused on like running the marathon, like that's it. You're just like focused on that race. You're going to hate every second of training, which actually takes up the bulk majority of your time. It's not just that race. And so, just like that, like you have to enjoy actually creating the designs and building your shop and connecting with customers before you ever make the sales. Otherwise, it's just not fun.
100%. I'm all about the fun piece of it. And now I know both of us have kind of diversified our businesses in
Yeah.
different ways now. The days that I get to spend just
Yes.
designing for my Etsy shop and really nurturing it, that always just brings me back to why I did this in the beginning, anyways. Like getting to just research and design and create is such a fun and fulfilling part of the process. And I agree, like you
Yes.
have to feel that fun part or it's going to be a drag. Like it feels much easier now for me to put up several listings because I'm
Hmm.
enjoying the process and it doesn't feel like work
Right.
compared maybe to something else that I don't enjoy, like
Right.
I don't like to cook. So like cooking makes me
Right.
feel like, oh, this is work. But when I get to sit and do something I love, it's so fulfilling and it just allows you to really be more creative and like open and I do think that's kind of an underrated part of all of this.
Yeah. I think that that's genuinely the missing piece for so many new sellers is they started expecting very quick results and they started expecting to be really good at it right away, which we'd all love, right? Like if that was reality, wouldn't we all love that so much? But it really is like embracing that messy middle and just accepting that like you're not going to be good at the beginning, but that's how you get better is by not being good.
Yes. And for anyone who's watching who's kind of in that messy middle, like I encourage you, there were moments I would go back and look at listings that I created like a month or
Yes.
two ago and just appreciate how far you've come. Or like I would look back and be like, wow, I've already learned how to design or optimize my listing so much better in a month or two than I did back then. And so I always encourage people to do that just to appreciate kind of how far they've already come in a short period of time, which I
Yeah,
think is important.
absolutely. So
Okay,
important.
so let's talk a little bit about strategy because I'm sure people are going to be interested. So you and I have both found success kind of with different approaches. I think a lot of our core principles and things that we do probably overlap in a lot of ways, but our product strategies and things like that differ a bit. So mine has been more with giftable products and focusing on non-apparel, and yours has been really trend focused, more apparel focused, and also now bulk orders. So what over time, I know you've had different Etsy shops, I know you've tried different things. What really made you lean into this strategy that you're using?
Yeah. I think overall, just trying to kind of reverse engineer how to increase average order value, which I know that sounds super technical and businessy. And, like if you're listening and you're like, I have no idea, I'm just starting print on demand. All that means is how do you get one customer to buy a bunch of things from you? And so I started thinking more intentionally about like what are the niches I can target where customers not just coming to my shop and buying one of this product, they're coming and they're buying 10 of that same product. Same work for me, but it's more profit in my pocket. And so I think that that is really where that started for me, is just looking objectively at the numbers and trying to reverse engineer that.
Definitely. And how long, like you said, that's not something you necessarily did from day one. So, kind of at what point did you start to make those calculations and figure that out?
I think it was honestly like we've both talked about how we have diversified our businesses, but we still love like print on demand. And I think as my time shrunk that I could commit to doing this, I was like, how can I make a bigger impact with a
Definitely.
limited number of listings? And so that is really where that started. It came out of a necessity to recognize I didn't have the time that I had a year ago, 2 years ago. And so I needed to make listings that were going to be more efficient.
There are so many different ways to kind of go about raising that average order value. So you can sell products that cost more and come with a higher profit. And then you can do these bulk orders or kind of aim for them. And one thing I always like to encourage people too is it doesn't always have to be just apparel. It could be like,
Right.
tote bags or gifts or things like that. So there's a lot of different strategies. So talk to us about positioning your products to be purchased in bulk. So like what customers are you really thinking about? What niches or occasions are you seeing these kind of bulk orders coming from that might help people generate some ideas?
I think that everybody, when they think about bulk orders, like the most natural niche they go to is bachelorette. And yes, I do sell in the bachelorette space some products. However, there are so many possibilities like lingering below the surface that people oftentimes don't think about, especially when we think about like giftable occasions. It kind of does like kind of cross over into your niches too. I mean, I'll just plug, I just released a training called the Bulk Order Blueprint, where I share tons of niche ideas and trending design styles that you can kind of apply to bulk orders. But I would say start thinking about occasions where people are going to be purchasing products in bulk. And oftentimes that has to do with gifting.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I think that positioning piece is so important. Like I was talking to a student the other day about she was selling like a bookish themed kind of trendy
Yeah.
product. And she was asking about bulk orders and I said, well, book club gift
Yep.
exchanges or, things like that where somebody
Yes.
might buy a book of gifts for a group that they're a part of. And so I think it's all about trying to think about where might somebody buy this in more than one, right? Like they might buy a larger quantity for a group of people. And sometimes I feel like we overcomplicate it a little bit and think like, okay, well, there's only bachelorette parties. And it's like, no, actually, it's kind of everywhere.
And think about the times where you, as a consumer, have had to purchase multiples of something. Like, what has that situation been? Like, I think about all the time growing up, like, going on vacation and you see like the families wearing like matching vacation shirts. And I'll obviously be careful with like certain, trademark, copyright, all those kinds of things. Don't sell Disney t-shirts, but that's just a situation where you have to think about like where do you see people wearing matching shirts? Think about like even just local organizations, like when we do walks or run clubs or all of that. A lot of these groups don't know how to manufacture these items themselves, nor do they have someone who can design them. So if you can meet that need and like create some type of custom design, there's so many possibilities. I mean, we could talk about this. It's truly limitless.
It really is. And that's what makes it really neat. And I think too, what's been so interesting about following your journey is your focus on trends and like really incorporating trends into those designs. So you're not only hitting on the bulk order piece, but you're hitting on these really trendy designs that are out there that people are looking for.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about how you go about that, like finding trends and like staying on top of that. Like, how do you stay on top of those trends?
I have no idea where this comes from because I am not like a fashion forward girl. Like I am like the biggest thrifter you've ever met. But my boyfriend literally is like, Kate, what's going to be trending next summer? And I can already be like, I mean, stamps are really starting to pick up now, but I think they'll hit their peak like next summer. They were already starting to trend last summer too. Or like I can remember before tinned fish got big, like I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, mark my words, like the girls are going to be wearing shirts with tinned fish. And he was like, what are you, like
What is
sardines?
that?
And
Yeah.
I was like, yes, yes, tuna. Like we're talking about that. So I think that for me, it just comes from this almost like place of curiosity, but also intention. Like now that I am a retail business owner or like to think of myself that way, I'm constantly trying to look ahead and see what I think is coming. One of the ways to do that though is just paying attention to the very small niche things that you start seeing, I like to say, out in the wild. So like when you're browsing at Target and you see all of a sudden like 4 mugs that have bows on them, you should be asking yourself, like, why do all those items have bows on them? Because it's not just chance. There's something going on there that is starting to trend and you can apply to your Etsy shops too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do when I'm feeling a bit in a rut is
Yes.
just go walk the aisles at Target
Yeah.
and just peruse. I was there the other day and it was tons in the women's section, tons of like the Italian summer, the lemons, the blue and the yellow. And it's, if you go looking for it, you can find it, right? And so I think sometimes if you're just not sure where to even start, that's always a great place to go. Like, go grab a coffee, go walk the aisles, and like take it in. And then another great place, and I know you've talked about this some too, is Pinterest is always a great place to go. And I also don't consider myself a very trendy person. I'm always like, I'm a millennial mom who's like changing diapers, right? So trends are not at the forefront of my mind, but once you kind of incorporate just looking around when you're out or looking at what people are wearing, or you're on that checkout line at Home Goods, like there's trends everywhere. So just all over. So there's a lot of really great, and the best part is that it's free, right? You can go and find trends and ideas for free, which is a great option. Um, I know the other day you posted on Instagram something about how you don't always find trends on like eRank or Everbee or things like that. I would love for you to elaborate a little bit about that post for people who may not have seen it.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of times beginner Etsy sellers dive into like eRank or Everbee and they expect to open up the homepage and it to be in like bright red letters, like this is what you should list right now for sales. But I often like to think of those tools more as a means of validation more than actually where the trend starts. So if I go out, let's say, and I'm seeing a bunch of fish on items, I'm going to go into one of those tools, eRank or whatever. I'm going to type in like sardine and see what the stats say about it. But I'm not going, because people a lot of times are like, how do you know to go into eRank and type in sardine? Like I never would have thought to type that in. And it's like, well, because that's the second step in the process. The first step is actually going out and looking with your eyes, whether that's on Pinterest, whether that's in a store, whether that's scrolling Instagram or TikTok. That's where the trends actually start.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
That and I would say, like, I wanna, like, pause and highlight that because that is gold, and I think that that is, like, such an aha moment for many of us, which is, you can't just log in. A research tool is not going to give you, like, sales right there, and so you have to help guide it, and the tool is just such a great tool for validation, and I think if we can rewind that and say that again, which is, like, your keyword tool comes second, you first have to generate an idea to give it, right? You first have to, like, think about, either find a trend or brainstorm what it is exactly you're gonna be, designing for or hoping to design for. But those different strategies that we talked about are a great way if you're really starting from a clean slate and don't know, where to go next.
yeah, I think that is a missing piece because there's a lot of, I mean, that's not what's shown online. Like it feels
Right.
like that is the missing piece for so many beginners is they are like, okay, well, how did you know that how did you even know to search for Italian summer? And it's like, well, that didn't just come from this random thought in my head that I had at 3 in the morning, like Italian summer's trending on Etsy. I have a magic ball. No, it comes from, kind of being in tune with like your shoppers. And I think that's another part of this is like you really have to start thinking if you were a shopper, like what makes you buy things? What catches your eye when you're in the stores? Like we are sellers, but we're also buyers in our own ways.
For sure. No, I think that's great. And something I love about you too, and I feel like we've bonded over, is trying to be as transparent about the print
Yes.
on demand space and these things that, you may not always see out there. And so
Right.
what kind of motivated you to be, a real voice in this space, kind of sharing the good and the bad and the challenging and
Yeah.
the amazing parts of it?
I think that when I started this journey, I was really inspired by print on demand sellers who were ultra transparent about what they were making from this side hustle. Um, I think something that I saw missing though was like, I heard a lot about revenue when I was first getting started, but no one was actually sharing, like, okay, this is revenue, but this is what profit looks like. And so I saw that missing piece. And as I started selling print on demand, I was like, I wish someone was talking a little bit more about that. And so I started sharing profit breakdowns and things like that I feel like were helpful for people. The other thing is like, I just don't like the idea of pitching these side hustles as something they're not. Like print on demand digital products, they are life changing, sustainable streams of income that allow me to make money whether I'm out weeding my garden this morning or whether I'm, running errands or at the grocery store. But that didn't happen overnight. Like that is only possible now because I had realistic expectations when I started. And I think everybody else deserves.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's hard to be able to share all the things, right? Because we are humans and we're right and all of that. But I think it's really important to be transparent. And I actually recorded a video, and you can see that in the show notes, about my first year on Etsy and showing actual profit numbers and showing when that first sale came in and when things really took off and all the things that kind of took to get there, because it does take a lot of hard work to build this up, but it is same for us. It's a very life-changing stream of income for us. And it's absolutely, for me, it's allowed me to leave my 9 to 5 job and be able to pick up my kids every day. And that was a game changer for us. But it also comes with, you have to learn, you have to work hard. You have to be really consistent, and you have to kind of, like we said at the beginning, be really bad at it at first to
Yeah.
get really good at it. So
Yeah.
we've talked a lot today about how you and I have taken different paths. We share a lot of same principles and common beliefs and how we operate with print on demand, but different paths in terms of what we sell and who we're targeting. And so what would you say to someone who's either brand new to print on demand and just starting this journey, or someone who's in that messy middle, really trying to figure it out, about how they create or find their own path on Etsy?
I think that's such a great question. I think my biggest tip is don't rush yourself. Like You are not in competition with anybody other than yourself. This is your unique journey, and this gets to be whatever you want to make it out to be. I have, been very honest on social media. Like, I never started print on demand to have like $100,000 month with the side hustle, or to, even I don't know that I ever wanted print on demand to be like my full one stream of income, because I am multi-passionate. So you can shape this into being whatever you want, whatever fits your schedule, whatever fits your lifestyle. You don't have to take it to the fullest extreme. Like, whatever works for you works for you. And that's right.
Absolutely. I did a poll once on Instagram about what amount of profit per month would really be a positive change in your life. And I want to say like 65% said like $1,000 a month. And there's so many ways to do this. It doesn't have to be those 10K profit months. It can be $1,500 a month can really make a difference. Right now I can pay for
Absolutely.
groceries and childcare and like all
Daycare.
these
Yep.
things. Yep, absolutely. So I definitely think there's so many ways to go about it. And what I would add is it takes time, like you said, to find what your path is on Etsy. And I always share I started selling apparel and then I was testing things and then I kind of found my footing with these giftable products. And, for me, trends at that time wasn't something that was my strength. It wasn't my strong suit. And so it's all about kind of finding where do your strengths lie? Like for you, you can understand and predict trends based on what you're seeing. And if that's not
Yeah.
your strength, that's okay too.
That's okay.
Like
Right.
there's so many different ways to go about it, which can feel also overwhelming. So I always
Absolutely.
recommend just like taking it slow, like trying one product at a time and just being willing to stick with something, experiment a little bit and just kind of see where you find your fit. And I
Yeah.
think I see so many people quit before they really take the time to do that and give it their all there. And I always get so sad because I'm like, you're so close. Like
I know.
we're gonna figure this out. But it's all about kind of finding and forging your own path on Etsy.
Right. And I think it also just takes a little bit of like that mental clarity where you're like, this is going to work because I'm going to make it work. I think when you show up with that attitude of like, even if it's not working now, I am committed to learning, looking at the data, getting better at this until it works. That mindset unlock is such a missing piece. Because if you put your mind to something and you're like, I'm going to do this thing, you're probably not going to let yourself fail at it. There's so many great books I would recommend for beginner print on demand sellers, but You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, as well as just her original You Are a Badass books. Absolutely recommend. Shifted my mindset completely and woke me up to the fact that I was like, wow, I can just like decide to do something and do it. Which sounds so simple, but it's not. It's really hard to get your brain to actually buy into that sometimes.
Yeah, no, definitely 100%. And I think the students that I work with that really start to see that success kind of have that mindset locked in where it's like this isn't optional and like this is going to happen for Race. So I think that that's a big mentality piece that's so important.
I always share the story of the day I was laid off for my 9 to 5 job and I decided to pursue full-time self-employment. I journaled that morning and wrote, deciding means there's no plan B. I will be fully self-employed. And I kid you not, 2 hours later, I got laid off for my 9 to 5 job. And I was like, okay, I didn't mean like I wasn't ready yet, but I decided, like I had made a decision. And at that point, I didn't know. I'd only been doing Etsy for like 6 months at that point, but I was just like, all right, well, I love this. I love the freedom of Etsy. I'm going to see what I can do with this. And so I think there is the mindset piece is so big here. Making that decision that this is going to work, you're going to put the work in. That's huge.
Absolutely. Now I only have a couple more questions, but I did want to ask, so kind of what is a mistake that you made early on that really ended up teaching you something valuable about print on demand and how you operate your business?
I am a big believer that mistakes ultimately are lessons to learn. And so I don't really regret the mistakes that I made early in my journey, because I think they ultimately taught me lessons that allowed me to build what I've built today. So you're going to make mistakes. That's part of the process.
Yes. And for
Do
anyone
you have
listening,
anything?
no, I honestly would probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think, yeah, there's nothing I would really consider a mistake that I feel like taught me. I think one mistake I would say is kind of letting my foot off the gas a little bit. So, like, one of my first bestsellers was something that then a million people started copying, which is all par for course.
Right.
But I always tell people that I wish if I could go back, I would have really doubled down on that design and like really tried to monopolize that market for that. And instead, I kind of just let my one product be a bestseller and I just didn't do anything after that. So I always would say, like, that's one thing where I really learned that you can't, like, if you have something that's working, you got to keep going, like, keep doing it and really, but again, that taught me something. And I'm okay with that. Like, it really helped. And I always say, like, someone copying my design really helped propel me to where my shop is because it was a lesson I needed to experience and learn. So I agree with you 100%. And I think for anyone listening, that is such a key part also about the mindset of this. And I know we're talking about a lot of mindset stuff, but it's so much a part of this. It's so ingrained in being a print-on-demand seller because you could easily get discouraged. But I think viewing these mistakes as learning opportunities and not regretting them and just being okay, taking what you can learn from them and getting better is so part of the process.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on there. And when I think about, like, obviously there were things I had no idea about strategy-wise when I started, that I'm like, were my titles optimized? Was my pricing No, probably not. You know what I mean? But would I have learned how to calculate profit margins had I probably sold my first few items that I didn't make any money on? No, I wouldn't have learned anything. So you have to make the mistakes at the beginning.
Absolutely. So my last official question for you is, what is next in your print on demand journey? So I know right now bulk orders and your bulk order blueprint have been a focus of yours, but what do you see kind of coming down the line for print on demand for you? And also, what are you most excited about?
I mean, it's like almost the best time of year to be a print on demand seller. So I don't think any of us are going to complain that Q4 will be here in a few months, but I'm really working on prepping my print on demand store, I would say, for Q4, starting to think about what the products that people are going to be gifting are, as Emily talks about a lot, but really just trying to consistently add more listings to my shop. So right now I would say averaging maybe 3 to 5 new listings a week. But once again, those aren't like brand new listings that I'm starting from scratch. I'm kind of taking, like we've talked about, designs that are selling well and repurposing them for additional niches. So that's really what I'm doing. I'm just setting a goal to stay consistent and hopefully finish the year strong with it.
Yeah, it is such a good time. Like, now is the best
I
time to
know.
be really, if you haven't started getting into it, like, now is such a prime time because you can really prepare your shop for Q4. I didn't start my shop till January 1st. So I missed out on kind of all of that. But then when November came along, I was floored, which was great. So there's no bad time to start an Etsy shop. But if you could start now is a really good time to do that.
Don't wait until January. Like, if you're
gonna
start, take advantage of the extra traffic now. And once again, it's going to be messy no matter if you start now or you start in January. So might as well start learning the lessons now.
100%. Yeah. Well, this has been so fun. I would love for you to share with everyone where they can find you, follow along, how they can learn more from you.
Perfect. My Instagram and TikTok are both at Kate Robb LLC, KateRobb LLC. And my website's katerobbllc.com.
Awesome. Well, great.
Thanks so much for having me.
Can't wait to see what else you bring. Yeah. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for following along.